It's me. Jesse Run.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's your main man, Dr. Life, here with Jesse Run.
Your second main man.
We in the business of saving lives. So, we've been planning something called Kids Days. Holywood Fashion Week, Kids Days. And I wanted Jesse Run to come and tell you exactly why we doing Kids Days. Every year is an annual event. Because we putting together some leagues. We putting together a league to prevent from wasting raw talents. Alright? So my man here been wanting to play football. Tell him what your dream was.
My dream was to be the best running back on the team. And
Alright, so let me show you where this is coming from. So all over the country, we got youth Little League football. They come down here to Orlando, Florida. And they play the championship game here in Orlando, Florida. Right? So this the Pee Wee Championship football. Alright, so all over the country they got little leagues that's competing. And it's crazy because when I was his age, he's 7 right now. When I was his age, we were in Michigan. And I was having the same problem in Michigan that he's having right now. Pops is a Seventh-day Adventist pastor. And we don't play on Sabbaths. Because we go to church. So the leagues was playing on Sabbath in Michigan. So even though I had a love for the game, my pops played, my mom was a cheerleader, my uncles, everybody in the family, star athletes. And so he's having the same thing here in Florida. The leagues, they play on Saturday. He on the team, he going out practicing. But he could never play in the game. He wanted to play so bad that I had to sign him up just to let him be on the team. And he would practice all week long, but never ever got to play in the games. So I just started looking around, and then I was like, these individuals have created
spectacular Sunday at the 62nd Pop Warner Super Bowl as you look down
62nd, right?
Championship field at ESPN Wide World Sports.
So as long as the NFL been going on, they've been
for our eyes. Welcome inside our studios, Tom James alongside the former UMass running back Rini Ngoyen, our quarterback Drew Felios. And Rini, we've really seen it all this weekend. What's your ultimate takeaway?
No, they play on Saturday.
I think a lot of teams get here and they don't realize
that's what the teams is all playing for, to go here to the
first
Super
2 days.
Bowl.
I think that's pretty much played out. Good athleticism and very fast.
All right. So ESPN, they broadcast same high level, same everything as the NFL and all of that, right? So let me show y'all one other thing, and then I'm gonna let my man go to bed.
There he is right there, nice and soft. Good pass, good job. Work on there, work on me. 1, 2, 3. All right.
Music gave me the power to create a football league.
So this where Narvi and Monster play.
One thing about life, you're gonna lose more than you win. But are you gonna get up?
It's the city of no pity, Mike. South Central Los Angeles, Mike.
13, about to turn 14. You gotta figure out who you are and what you are.
My dad, when I was a kid, he left me. I cry sometimes, but I understand how life goes. Life is it's not gonna treat you right.
They don't like being preached to. They like the real. And we give them the real.
You went with your mama them on vacation.
K-Max is a tough love coach.
You can't do it, I can't use you. Get out.
He can ruffle some feathers. There's certain things coaches don't say to kids.
They don't know the love is involved.
Alright, so he got some cousins. He got an uncle named Spider. Uncle Spider lives in Compton, in California. So on one coast, he got cousins, Monster and Narvi, playing in the Snoop football league. Right?
6 minutes already?
Already. And then on the other coast, in New Jersey,
3 people watching, 4 people watching.
alright, check this out. So why don't you tell them about Kids Day? Tell them what we did for Kids Day. Tell them what Kids Day is.
So on Kids Day, whoa.
Scoot up.
So on Kids Days, we go out to the park and we do some football. We play football, and then he said for next year we're gonna be doing a obstacle course, and we're gonna have football, and I'm gonna be able to invite friends over there.
Alright, so Kids Days is simply, you know how at the end of the year they have a Pro Bowl. At the end of the year they have a Pro Bowl. So at the end of our season in 2020, we're going to have Kids Days, and we're going to highlight the superstars from all of the teams. What's up, darling? That's right. But more importantly, Kids Days is centered in a week that we call Holywood Fashion Week. Holywood Fashion Week is our week where we broadcast how we've taken these raw talents and these kings and queens, and we not only put them on teams and let them play, and then still go back into the same communities and the same environments, same broken cycles, same raggedy neighborhoods. Because the difference on these leagues and these teams, this is something that he's learning. So when they learn the hard skill, of developing a skill in the sport that they're in, that's a talent. But they're in a digital age. They're in a digital era. People are using computers and technology. And then the schools that our kids normally are in don't have access to the same type of advancement, technology, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. So what we've done is we make each and every player in our league a quadruple threat. Meaning, on the field when they're playing, it's a hard skill that they develop. Off the field, they harness science, technology, engineering, arts, and math to learn another hard skill. Soft skill. Instead of going out and handing out turkeys and Thanksgiving and going and doing photo shoots, our soft skill is we go out and out of the revenues generated from our leagues, we go back into our communities, to the families, to the neighborhoods that's worse off than us. And we make sure that they have access to transforming, to playing, to breaking whatever cycles. We make investments in them that other people have made in us that allowed us to be able to develop hard skills and soft skills. And then finally, Just like he on the camera right now telling his story. Just like he is the face of his league. Just like Nike, and just like they take the images. Hollywood takes our babies' images. The rap industry takes our images and uses them against us. So we teaching a whole nother generation to take their hard skills and their soft skills and the principles and the character building that they learn on these teams. And as they learn how to reinvest in other people, how they learn how to sacrifice, how to learn to break the cycle and rehabilitate, and then they tell their story. And then they supermodel their story. This is what Holywood Fashion Week is about. Erasing the generational curses of those negative images that by beholding we become changed and we produce. It's like ESPN can produce for 64 years. 64 years they're producing youth. So they've been in our communities for 64 years. These leagues been in our communities for 70 years. Getting billions and trillions of extracting billions and trillions of dollars for 60 and 70 years. Youth Football League, 14 years. And they still struggling with the set. That's because there's no layer cycle reinvestment. That's because there's no development. There's no investment in financial raw talent. There is no concept of taking and teaching them the raw talent that they are and the value that they're worth their weight in gold. I'm going to let him go to bed, but I'm going to drop the jewel on y'all about the first fruits. They got a documentary out right now talking about Generation 1, the search for black wealth. It ain't no search for black wealth. You're looking at the wealth of the kingdom. You're looking at Generation 1 first fruit wealth. You're worth your weight in kingdom gold, 100%. It's real. We've just wasted it. There's a blessing on first fruits that if you bring them to the king, it's the first economy. It's the first financial system that he gave his children. The parable of the talents, I give one. I'm going to break down after how much a talent weighs. Do you know a talent weighs as much as a person? 50 kilograms. Yes.
What?
Yes.
How
One talent of gold was worth 50 kilograms or 110 pounds. He gave one person 110 pounds of 100% kingdom gold. He gave the second person 2. That's 220 pounds of gold. He gave the third person 5. 5 talents. That's 550 pounds. How we got generational curses of poverty, y'all? Because they told us, you not Generation 1. They told you, you gotta search.
Search for what?
Exactly. What has been stolen from you and what we giving back to our people.
How do you search for a generation?
They searching for the wealth of the generation. Let me show you his cousin.
Daddy,
This is Trenton, New Jersey. Yo, cousin, you might know if you know Megadome over at Razor Sharp. This Megadome's son. It's Mathel Hunter's son.
Daddy,
Huh?
my school, you gotta be in the 9th grade to play football.
Yeah, I know. We changing all of that.
Interception.
So he looking all around the country and he see all his cousins playing. And on the West Coast, he sees cousins out there playing. On the East Coast, he see him playing. Up in Chicago, He got cousins in college right now. 2 cousins in college right now from Chicago. And I'm looking around and I'm seeing college extracting wealth and not giving nothing back. The NFL extracting and not giving nothing back. All right, you good. Invite him out to Kids Days. Invite him out to Fashion Week. Tell your cousins.
I invite y'all over the Kids Day and the other thing.
And yeah, Fashion Week.
Fashion Week.
And we trying to see who got the best teams. Is it New Jersey? Is it Orlando? Is it Compton? Is it Chicago? Let's find out.
Or is it
Florida? Let's find out. This is what Holywood Fashion Week, Holywood Kids Day is about. All right, go to bed, yo.
Daddy,
Huh?
for Hollywood Fashion Week, can it be about our uniforms? For
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Oh.
It's about your uniforms. It's about Fashion Week. This is what it's about.
What is our thing gonna be? Like an animal or a person or like what?
Each team gonna have its own logo. Each team gonna have its own different logo, its own different uniform, just like the NFL, just like everywhere else. Its own mascot, its own cheerleaders, its own home field, everything.
So that means we get to make a new one?
Yes.
I already thought of one.
All right, go to bed, man. I'll get with you.
Okay, a snow panther.
So let me show y'all the waist that I'm talking about. All right, real brief. And so over the years, I've had individuals I've had teams. I've been on different teams, and not just the recreational teams, but teams who want to make a difference. I was on a performing arts team that went, when we were in high school, a performing arts team that was in the business of competing for the image, competing for the narrative, competing for the story. And we went all around the country. And then one year, we got an opportunity on a global stage, on a worldwide stage. We got an opportunity to take our performance, our message of young men and women in the USA who not only break cycles, but who lead, who empower, who transform, who transfigure. And on a worldwide stage, we got an opportunity. The whole world came to the U.S. Something called Youth Congress. The youth from around the world descended. I believe it was in Atlanta that year. And they put us up on the stage. And we got to tell our story. Not Def Jam's story, not MTV's story of us, not BET's story of us. We got to tell the world on a global stage exactly how we move, exactly how we treat our women, our goals and our outlook on a good man leaving wealth to his children's children. We got to tell the world how the generation one moves and believes and acts. But there was no entity. There was no one who had a vision, or no one who had a business plan to take a platform so powerful, to take a message so powerful and invest in it, broadcast it, record it, stream it, monetize it. Not for personal gain. Not monetize it for personal gain. But to do that which we have been commanded to do with raw talents. 1, 2, 5. Commanded to present a return on investment to the King of Kings with every raw talent that we have been given. Now you have young people dying daily in the U.S. because of images, because of attacks and wars, because of traps and snares. Then you have an entity where the world and the whole country is lining up to consume the images and the message of how to break those cycles. And prior to now, no one has thought to approach raw talents like that and connect the dots between the creator, investment, and the creator expecting a return on his investment. At 2 institutions that I was a part of, we go all around the world. Best choir in the world in high school. Best choir in the world in college. One institution been around for 70 years, doing it on a worldwide scale for 70 years. The other institution, 120 plus years. Worldwide scale, never once recorded. Never once produced. Never once created content to compete with the narratives and the messages and the y'all see where we're going with this? While they come out here and they say it's a generation 1 search for black wealth. And on the other hand, the creator is saying, I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. God, I change not. If I deposited gold talents, I've been depositing gold talents in each and every person since Adam and Eve. This is generation 1 love. What's first fruits? He said, by their fruits ye shall know them. Them who have brought a return on my investment. By their fruits ye shall know them. Because if they mine, you're going to have dominion. You're going to be fruitful and multiply. You're going to replenish the earth and subdue it. If you're mine, if you're in my covenant, you're going to have a return. The 2 had 4, the 5 had 10. The 1 buried it. You ain't mine. Throw them out where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Wasted raw talents. All this time. From the beginning of Let There Be Light to this. The one test of every individual who has ever drawn breath. What you going to do with the first fruits? And then he maps out. And this is what we given to y'all in 2020. He mapped out so it's something called the if statement. If I be lifted up, I will. If. He says, if you do, I will do. If. If you do, I will do. If you want to know what your financial business plan in the Father's business is, all you got to do is what we've done, is find all of the if and I statements. If you do, I will do. I'm going to give you an example. Y'all ready? I'm going to give you an example. This is the same way coaches do their teams to get them to perform championship level. This is what we do. If you do this, the result will be this. It don't have nothing to do with feelings. It don't have nothing to do with what people think. It don't have nothing to do. If you do this, if you do the works of my Father, I will do this. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Period. If you do the works of my Father, I will exchange with you gold tried in the fire. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a few things. Now come be ruler over many. If you serve, I will crown you ruler. If you, I will. That's what the game is. So when it comes to first fruits is your streams of wealth or lack thereof based off of the raw resources that he's put in your life. No matter how small, how big the initial deposit is, it doesn't matter what measure the initial investment or deposit is. If you apply the promised prescribed game plan of bringing and presenting first fruits. First fruits is your literal earthly wealth or earthly income. So what he said was first fruits unblemished. Give me mine off top. This ain't tithe, y'all. This is not tithe. The first fruits blessing has nothing to do with the 10% tithe. Nothing. Zero. Totally different. And you can tithe off you all you want. You can tithe all you want. The increase is attached to the first fruit blessing. So we put a system in place to, number one, get our people back in the game, competing for ownership and control of their lives, their assets. We as a people have been programmed to allow everybody else, everybody under the sun, because of misinformation, because of myths, because of lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, because of lies, because of deception. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. But we've been deceived. He said, I know I done warned my children not to be deceived, but yo, I'm going to shorten the times of the end, Because if I don't, even the very elect would be deceived. Even those claiming to be the most faithful, they already are being deceived. And if I let the time extend, they all be deceived. Crazy. Generation 1, search for black wealth. Y'all ain't seen it. If y'all haven't seen it, and I've seen so many people in our community getting excited about people of color coming and talking about they searching for black wealth. And I'm confused. I'm like, how are people getting excited? That's propaganda. It's propaganda telling you you need to search for something that you've already been given. That's called lost. It's propaganda telling you you got to search for something. When what we're trying to tell you is you've had it all along, you're just wasting it. And so recycling, we got a business model on recycling our talents, rehabilitating our people, changing our people's perception, changing our people's mindset. That's why he said, let this mind be in you, that is also in the king. Nah, but we seeking accreditation from these institutions of higher learning. And the more education we get, the dumber down we get. The more entrenched the program is. The more we seek their education, the more effective that their program is. If you notice, I keep using the term slumdog havillionaires. Noah was a slumdog havillionaire. It's when the king calls you to turn over the tables in the slums. And when you carry out that job, the wealth that Noah amassed when he took the world from lost and fallen to cleansed and transformed and transfigured. And then the next 100 years, he was the greatest of the kings of the East. A cleansed earth made new, sitting on all of the wealth. That's a slumdog havillionaire. When you take the slums and you're called and you're given raw talents. It said Noah was a husbandman and he planted a vineyard. So his wealth was attached to harvesting grapes. His economy, his industry was a vineyard. We're applying the same thing to people who dominate fashion industries, who dominate recreational leagues globally. Nobody can compete with you. And just because the master was talking to shepherds And he broke down a financial blueprint for shepherds. And because you're not a shepherd, y'all act like the principles don't apply. Oh, the principles apply. They was the best in the world at being shepherds and best in the world at being vineyards. So he spoke to them, best in the world at being fishermen, best in the world at And so he came to let them know, you're wasting, you're squandering the industries and the economies that I'm allowing you to dominate. I said, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it. And I said, when I give you the ability to dominate an industry, when I give you the ability, the raw talents to dominate a market, I'm coming back to see how you have, listen, even the woman with 2 mites, I'm looking to see how you invest whatever measure that I allowed to come into your life. I am looking for a return. And the only way to get the return is to apply the principle of the first fruit. It's the only way. It is the covenant, the financial covenant, the financial everlasting covenant attached to the talents. So why they telling y'all 10% tithe? Because y'all haven't learned that every corporation has heads. Every corporation has business plans. Every corporation has projections and CFOs and all of that. And from the creator to now, you've had so many corporate visions that have taken a gospel and added a corporate vision, a corporate business plan and objective. We don't, listen, we ain't attaching ourselves to no corporation. We ain't listen, we are heirs of a king who has a financial covenant with his children, who he has commanded to be the ambassadors, the representatives of his financial statement. There's nothing to change. There's nothing to add to. And in every generation, he calls somebody like us to remind the people, yo, all you got to do is go back home to the Father's financial statement. All you got to do is go back to the blueprint. And in this documentary, Generation 1, the search for and I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you something else that's crazy about the leagues that y'all cheer for. There's a blatant agenda. It's a blatant agenda being carried out. That's the agenda. I'm going to come back to this channel. And I'm going to give y'all the blatant agenda. Well, first I'm gonna show you the documentary. And this is what our recycling, this is what this 2020 vision is about. Taking our raw talent wherever we have them, whether it's the finest arts in the performing arts, singing, acting, modeling, whether it's recreation, physical dominion, in any recreational market or industry, whether it's hard skills, hard business skills of in an age of technology, coming out of the dark ages. Our people are in the dark ages when it comes to technology. And they've artificially manufactured those who have and those who have not. When you look at the U.S. and the decline of the U.S. over the past 30 years, there's an artificial decline in the economic state of the U.S. And there is an artificial manufacture during the same period explosion in China, in Dubai. Artificial manufacturing. And then when you look at it, during the same period, they outsourced all of the wealth of the U.S., all of the businesses of the U.S. They outsource them. They come up with a phrase called globalization. Globalization is just saying, yo, y'all generate the wealth here. Y'all generate the demand here. And we're going to move the generational skills, the generational headquarters of the businesses that capitalize off of the demand that you create. So even though you're the source, even though you the face, even though you the Floyd Mayweathers, you the Beyoncés, even though you the fastest in the world, even though you the Michael Jordans and the LeBrons, even though we use your images to sell everything, we're going to put all of the actual return out of your reach. And none of our people, see nothing wrong with this system. None of our people but we've been meticulously. We've been challenged by 4 people. 4 entities. On defense, there's something called Rome's challenge. Rome has been challenging the prosperity since they challenged the King of Kings. Rome's challenge. And then in the West, Rome enlisted the number one colonizing imperial nation in the globe. Well, it's two of them. Britain and France. France is in the closet. France played like they your ally. France played like soon as World War II came around and your black soldiers went and fought in the French army, they linked themselves with Hitler. Go look at it. Go look at it. The French Revolution was a fascist revolution. Go look at it. The French Constitution that they created during the French Revolution. Same German platform that Hitler built the persecution on. Identical. Always have been. But Great Britain is the face of colonialism and imperialism. So the second challenge, you got Rome's challenge, and then you got the DC challenge. Strangers that are within thy gates. Rome's challenge, DC's challenge. Then there was a billionaire on offense. There was a billionaire, Robert Kiyosaki. 2015, I have been using Robert Kiyosaki's financial principles to introduce players in my team in Chicago. We had an intervention program. We called ourselves the Good Samaritans. We started an organization to go and intervene and rehab using this ain't new. We've been doing this since '99. And I was using Robert Kiyosaki as the financial to give a financial framework to individuals who are being exploited. In the 90s, we was giving them financial blueprint. Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, exposing that they programmed us to buy liabilities. They programmed us to consume liabilities, and they've turned us into a liability, a slave, because all we consume is liabilities. This is what Rich Dad, Poor Dad was breaking down in the 90s. Buy assets totally. 16 years later, in 2015, had an opportunity to get in the room with Robert Kiyosaki in Miami, Florida. And Robert Kiyosaki on the stage said, I've come here to ask you to help me to set more slaves free. Couldn't believe it. He stood up on stage in 2015 in Miami, Florida, and broke down his financial blueprint. And he said, 2016 plus or minus 3 years, it's going to be another crash, just like 2008, 2009. He said this in 2015. 2016 plus or minus 3 years. And he said, I've been going all over. I built $1 billion empire on financial education to set people free. And you a group of business people in this room who've come to get financial education. And the reason I came here is to ask you to help me help more slaves get free. Financially is what we talk about. That's the offensive challenge number 1. Offensive challenge number 2, my wife. She has every child written down on the mirror. People, they tell people when they're going into business to write a vision board. A vision board. Well, the bathroom mirror is the vision mirror. in every child, and 8 to 9 different specific vision points for each child that's being claimed by the desires of her heart is written down on that vision glass. And you know where else there's a vision glass? John saw a number that no man could number, standing on a sea of glass, who were victorious. Standing on a sea of glass. And when I saw those names and those points written in glass, I simply touched and agreed. I touch and agree every day and every night. But one day, years ago, we moved to Florida, and my wife said, why every other community they could get together, pool their resources together, they invest in the stock market, they get in one house, everybody will pile up in the house so that people can stack their bread while they go to school, work on their credit. They going to school, they working on their credit, they all chipping in on food, they all in one house. Then their credit getting good, they get out of school, they get a good job. Then they buy another crib. And they bring more of their people over. And it's a cycle. It's a pipeline of ascension. We the only group that the whole world there is not a world power that is not coming to the U.S. and leeching off the system of exploitation at our people's expense. There is not one. You got little Italies, little Chinatowns, little Poland, every nation under the sun got their own self-sustained, separate, standalone system of ascension when they come here. And not only did we build the prosperity, we've rebuilt it 4 and 5 different times. Slavery. After slavery, there was 2 reconstruction periods where they extracted, and Jim Crow. Jim Crow was an extraction after slavery. Prior to Jim Crow, prior to the Industrial Revolution, the antebellum slave era was the slave industrial revolution with the cotton gin. Mass-produced massive amounts of global wealth at the expense of our ancestors right here. Built the nation's wealth. Antebellum slave era. Prior to Industrial Revolution. 1865 come, they got a reconstruction period. We still pulled ourselves up. Still not taking advantage of wasted raw talents. Still have no clue of who our identity is, all of that. They hit you with Jim Crow again to extract. We don't have the ability to be fruitful and multiply like that. Look at the Mayans. Look at the Incas. Look at all of these so-called indigenous populations around the world. They get dismantled. The Aborigines dismantled. Nowhere on the, listen, the root children have weathered every storm despite not having a clue who the heck you are. Despite not having a clue what your covenant is. That is only proof that God's word, you will have dominion, be fruitful. In spite of unfaithfulness, because he said it. In spite of being lost, in spite of being deceived and lied to. So what happens once we stop playing that game? What happens? I'm training them from the door. Can't nobody lie to mine. But the saddest thing, family, listen to me. Listen to me, family. Listen to me good. God sent Samson to Israel to deliver Israel. And the children of Israel never got delivered, and Samson died because they wouldn't stand and fight for their deliverance with him. The story of Samson is preached. The story of Samson is preached as if Samson was the failure. As if Samson was the unfaithful one. It was the whole nation of God. The book of Judges is a rebuke of the people. What happened?
No, it was a light day, so they said we could.
Oh, alright.
Everybody else is leaving at 12, but since they knew about the accident, they said they let me leave a little early.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Samson's birth was heralded by an angel of God, just like the Messiah's birth was. Samson was born to the same family. He was a Nazarite. He took the Nazarite vow. Jesus of Nazareth, Samson of Nazareth. And every preacher that I know preaches as if Samson was the failure. The angel came to the people to let them know, I'm sending a deliverer. The Philistines are crushing you. I'm sending you a deliverer. Samson was given the might. This is what I'm talking about, wasted raw talents. He was given the might not to fight by himself, but he was given the might to inspire the people to rally around the banner and totally take back control of their assets, their resources, their land, their economy, their kingdom, their throne, their crowns, their families, their wives, their children, their everlasting covenant, their priesthood, their sanctuary, their Levite. Everything was supposed to come back online. The children of Israel were so wicked that the Most High God said that Samson was supposed to marry a Philistine. These preachers, they preach that Samson was in violation. The word of God says, the angel of the Lord, out of the angel of the Lord's mouth said that Samson was supposed to marry. He was supposed to marry outside the camp. That's how unfaithful the Hebrews was worse than the Philistines. Marrying a Philistine was better than marrying an Israelite. Yet they preach Samson violated. And the only reason why he went ham was because they killed that first wife. I mean, they don't even read the word, yo. They don't even read the word. They don't. They preach the same stuff that they got from individuals who have stolen your identity, who came over here to these shores claiming to be Christian missionaries, and they let Christian missionaries who slaughter, Christian missionaries who rape, Christian missionaries who enslave, Christian missionaries who tell slaves, yo, you cursed, says the word of God, because God cursed Ham. Once again, people who don't read the word of God, if you go to Genesis 9 by yourself, first of all, God didn't curse anybody. Noah chastised Ham's son, Canaan. I'm just showing you how your identity, how somebody was able to separate you from your financial covenant. That financial covenant starts right there. That's why the attack is on Genesis chapter 9. That's why they went to Ham. Because the Messiah said, just like the days of Noah. My covenant is in Noah. What are the signs of who you coming back for? What are your signs of your financial payday? Who's going to receive the payday? He said, just like the days of Noah. Not just like the days of Abraham. Not just like the days of Israel. Just like the days of Noah. And what did the fake missionaries come and do? They've inserted themselves. The fake Christian missionaries have told the people of color, the descendants of Ham, you're not first fruits. You're cursed fruits. You're the blemished fruits. And so when they made you the blemished fruits, they elevated themselves to the chosen. And then the so-called chosen have, from Europe, from the dark ages of Europe, created Western institutions of learning. Now, don't fool yourself and think that any of your institutions of learning have not been created. You don't know one person of color except this one right here talking to you that has had the spine to go back and get. I ain't created nothing. The Creator created a school of the prophets. He created the school. We just have been willing to say, yo, the word of God says in Romans chapter 11. Romans chapter 11 says they are not the root. Romans chapter 11 says only the root are fit to lead. That's what Romans 11 says. Paul went to Rome to tell the Romans and the Hebrews in Rome who had crucified the king, y'all together, huh? Well, y'all the lost that the king came to save. And neither one of y'all are the root. You're the branch of the root. You're the offshoot. You unfit to lead. You're strutting around here as if you are the alpha, like you are the head. No. Hebrews, y'all was chosen to remind the root. Hebrews, y'all was chosen to remind the root of their original covenant. When Nimrod created Sodom and Gomorrah and created Babylon and created Ur of the Chaldeans and created all of these separate worldly idolatrous kingdoms, I called you to remind the root. Do you have a purpose? Yes. Were you called? Yes. Can you take yourself and elevate yourself to first? Never. Does it matter being the first? Yes, it does. God's covenant with the males is a firstborn blessing. And then he commands the firstborn to bring first fruits. Does it matter being first? Yes. That's why when Jacob stole his brother's blessing, it mattered. It matters. Yes, it matters. Can anybody do anything about us being first? No. Has everybody in the world benefited and been blessed from being the branches of this root? Yes. And everybody in the world stand on a sea of glass and have access to the covenant, the everlasting covenant. Yes. But every nation, kindred, tongue, and people on the face of the earth, says the Most High God, I am the vine, you are the branches. You must be grafted into my root. That's all Romans 11 says. You must be grafted in. What is the grafting in process? Once again, this is the financial covenant that he has made with you. Grafting in simply means the lost, the wayward. You produce unblemished fruit. You're not producing unblemished, untouched first fruits. So I have a process called engrafting. It's real. It's the science behind. Once you be a good sower, and once it germinates and it comes up out of the ground, then the sower turns into the husbandman, and he practices husbandry. The sower deals with the seed. The husbandman in husbandry deals with the fruit. And if a plant is not producing the proper fruit, the husbandman uses husbandry to cut off branches that aren't producing the right fruit. And they have the ability to take branches that produce a whole different fruit, and they can splice and graft in a branch that's producing a wild, incorrect fruit, and they could graft it in, and they put it literally into, just like the nail pierced him in the side, they put it into the side of the shoot. Literally. It's called engrafting. They insert it into the shoot out of the root, and guaranteed, whatever branch gets grafted into the shoot is going to produce the fruit of the root. 100% of the time. Always. All day, every day. It's called husbandry. That's why I said, I am the vine, you are the branches. All of those of y'all who was lost, and please stop telling my people that everybody's lost. I have not come to call the righteous, but the wicked, out of his own mouth. I have not come to call the righteous, but the wicked. There are people who are producing my first fruits and bringing me the first fruits blessing, who I am blessing them every year with an increase financially. And every year they continue to practice the principles of being the good husbandman, the good sower, the virtuous woman, and they produce increase year after year. The increase is the first fruits blessing. Increase proves that you have been fruitful. And the faithful take the increase, the overflow, and they every year annually present a portion. However much that they have entered into a covenant with the Most High, they take the increase and they present whatever covenant they made with God. With Joseph, he told him a specific amount. During the 7 years of plenty, which I put in this post, 7 years of plenty into 7 years of famine. We about to go through it. And during the same time that there was a 7 years of famine elsewhere, because Joseph led the people. While everybody was 7 years of famine, they were wedding feasting off of the first fruits blessing. This ain't no theoretical, this is real. And if our people have been doing it, if our people have been doing the same thing and never left the blueprint that the king gave Joseph, if our people, or now that we are returning back, now that we're teaching masses the same thing Joseph taught the masses, where our people are about to experience it all over again. And those who continue to be deceived and lied to, about to see the greatest famine that the world has ever seen. We're about to go through the most rib-touching time that the world has ever seen. And the only reason our people gonna go through it, because our people won't listen. Our people won't learn. So 2020, this really the last, telling you, yo. I'm telling you. Only reason it ain't happened yet because God really trying to give his people a chance to get out the way, yo. this Generation 1 joint? Where you at, homie? Oh, where's it at? Okay, I know it's in here somewhere. Here it is. All right, y'all ready? So, what I'm saying to you is, there is no Generation 1 search for black wealth. No. Are we at Generation 1 again? Yes. Yes, we're at Generation 1 love. It's also called ITB, in the beginning. ITB, in the beginning. One love. Generation 1 love. First fruits. So the reason people are still searching is because they have not embraced the one love covenant, the in the beginning covenant. They have not embraced. Or they've embraced the fake counterfeit. And God said there is no excuse for you not knowing the difference. There's no excuse for you not knowing the financial plan. You know why? Because He gave you the financial plan to prevent lives from being lost in your sphere of influence. There's no excuse for you not knowing the plan, because there are people in your sphere of influence who only you have been given a measure of talents to save their lives based off of the same covenant that individuals in the past have saved lives or in their sphere of influence. Every person is given their specific measure of raw talents. Raw means ready and willing to serve. Raw talents. That's how you flip the talents. That's how you get a return on the investment of the talents. Talents is real investment in hard physical skills that you have been given. Example, Cain. Cain was given hard skills to be able to produce abundance, but he wasted those skills because your worship of your first fruits has to be in line with the commandment of the Creator's will. You can't create a separate way to worship. You can't create a separate system of what you give, how you give, what you present to Him, what you glorify, what you elevate, what you worship, what you idolize, you can't create no system. He said, I do everything decently and in order. I have an order for the universe. I have an order for how you present what I allow you to cause to grow. The prosperity And I have a prescription and a blueprint and a business plan on how the prosperity that I let come through you will influence, will make whole, will transform all of those that I put in your circle. And I'm holding you accountable to follow the blueprint and generate prosperity so that they can see how to tap into their raw talents and generate prosperity. And then that's the generational layer cycle. Fruitful and abundant. And even when people get lost, even when people stumble, even when people get blemished, I also have included a separate backdoor detour rescue mission route for my first responders who are bringing the first fruit to me. He said, I ain't leave nothing to chance. Even when your brothers and sisters, they end up services, I have provided to those. That's why I said press down, shaking together, running over, so that you can be able to be a blessing, to be able to bring other people home when they get lost, when they fall into servitude, when they fall out. As long as you stay in line, I'm going to pour out the windows of heaven. Financially, tangibly. My gospel is the financial statement, and the proof is the wealth that comes off of the raw talents that I give you. That's the proof. And however many people you lead back to fruitfulness, financial statement, that is righteousness. Y'all run around here, y'all been taught y'all supposed to be righteous in poverty. That's because Rome has always hoarded all of the wealth. And so they taught a spiritual prescription of a gospel based off of righteous works of common slaves. And y'all still preach it to this day. God gospel ain't never been attached to poverty. Never. Never. One talent. One talent. The 1 talent of gold weighed 50 kilograms. 110 pounds. And in June 2018, the price of gold, $41,155.69 per kilogram. 50 kilograms is 1 talent. The price of gold, he gave 1 gold talent. $41,155.69 for 1 kilogram. So multiply 50 times $41,155.69. And you have the value of 1 gold talent. That amount is $2,057.80. Also equal to 20 years of a laborer's wage. This is real, hard, fast investment in every single person who has ever been born. At least 1 talent everybody has been given. Common people didn't even carry talents. Common people, regular people, carried shekels. So what is the king saying to his children? when the son said you are a co-heir, that same son came and said, I have given you a measure of the father's inheritance, you prodigal son. The person who buried their talent in the sand was equal to the prodigal son who had received his father's inheritance and went out and squandered it. But that person never came to their senses. Never said, I could go home to my father's house. Because the father, when he came for his return, had to go to that person and ask, where's my? He found him in the pigsty. He found the prodigal son in the pigsty, not coming to his senses. The father had to get up from the gate. The father had to say, time is up. It's not unlimited. I gave you wealth. I gave you the inheritance. What did you do with it when you went out there? I don't got no problem with you going out there. But you better have a return. And the prodigal son was like, I'm in the pigsty, Pops. I buried the talent. And the father said, toss him out where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. You royal? These pastors have never ever connected the dots. Because once again, I'm telling you, they have been programmed to teach you the Western. The Western. Western means European. European means Gentile. Gentile means I have not come to call the righteous, but the wicked, first to the Hebrews, then to the Gentiles. So, go back to Romans 11. Unfit to lead. Why are they unfit to lead? Because in your day, they've rejected the covenant just like the Hebrews did. They're going through a empty ritual to stay aligned with Rome and reject the covenant. But they want to make it appear, and the king told you, they're going to have the form of godliness, but they're going to deny the power thereof. From this, turn away. Your financial future, your investigative judgment, getting into the wedding feast, having on the right apparel, unfit to lead. You have followed instead of being the head. He said you will be the head and not the tail. You're not designed to be the tail of the lost. Yes, I have the lost. Yes, I left the 99. The 99 represented the righteous. I left the 99 and went to find the one lost. So are the 99 then supposed to come out and go down into the ravine and follow behind the path that the lost sheep followed in? This is exactly what Western theological seminaries, Western education, Hebrews have done to the gospel. And it's not about, this is about wasting generational wealth. Wasting. The financial blueprint and recipe for generational wealth. A good man leaveth wealth to his children's children. And we have declared that 2020, over the next 14 years, just like Joseph, we've set up 4 schools for 4 different branches, for the 4 different streams of revenue. That surround the land with the good gold of those raw talents called Havilah. It's called Havilah gold. And there are 4 streams that marked the Havilah Good Gold land. That marked the Generation One Love First Fruit economy. The foundation of the Generation One Love First Fruit economy was marked by 4 rivers, 4 streams, land flowing with milk and honey. You get that term from the lands that he built the financial system on. And then Paul, because he led the people back into the same thing, he said, I have laid a good foundation. Someone else has to build on it. My job is just to lay the foundation. The original foundation, the land flowing milk and honey foundation. Erase this trash kingdom built on sand foundation that the Hebrews and the Romans gave y'all, and took you back to the original one love, first fruit, blessing foundation. And then he said, now I hand it off to you with the blueprint. Now build the identical thing that Enoch built on this foundation that I laid. Build the identical thing that Noah built. Build the identical thing that Job built. And then Paul said, and what you build will be tested with fire to see if the materials that you used are the same materials. And no one can use any other materials but the ones that match the foundation that I laid. The prescription for building generational wealth has been given to you. Has been given to you and laid out. All you gotta do is run the play. We're gonna show you how to do it. This is the fake who wants you to think that they know what they're talking about. This your people. These are African Americans. These are blacks. Just think about the black Hebrews. It's the same thing. Just think about the Sanhedrin.
Baller, and if that didn't work out, I literally had a young lady that told me she was looking to marry a baller, and if that didn't work out, that she was okay with getting on the pole, as she put it, and doing what she had to do. And I looked at the teacher, and she just kept knitting with her head down like nothing was wrong.
The lack of generational wealth in the African American community has never been in sharper focus.
A lot of us grow up thinking that if you get a paycheck, your job is to go out and spend that paycheck making Nike rich. You are the drug addict and somebody else is the drug pusher. You are.
Understand, Dr. Boyce Watkins is a major cog in the Western educational financial illiteracy of our people. Dr. Boyce Watkins is one of the leading financial so-called experts in our community. He's been a doctor and a financial prognosticator for years. This is why there's still a search. They just turned the cameras on. They don't have no different prescription. They don't have no different financial prescription than the NAACP had for you. Than the Urban League has for you. Than the Black Caucus has for you. Your congressman. They don't have no different prescription. Oh, they do have a different prescription. A different prescription from the original first fruit prescription that guarantees a deposit, the financial deposit. Guarantees. God's saying, I'm making the deposits. You the problem. You are not doing the first fruit work. Oh, you working for IBM though. You working for Wall Street. How many people we know come through our community, so-called become successful? We know of plenty of people that are millionaires and they have all of these magazines with black entrepreneur and blah, 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 blah. Why your community look that way? They ain't with you. They're not with the covenant. They with self. They're Babylonians. They're Egyptians. They're Canaanites. They're Philistines. What? And it's crazy when all they got to do is drop African American. All they got to do is drop black power. All they got to do is drop black. And y'all, million man more. Black, all of the blacks. We solidarity. What? If God was connected to it, the tables of the money changers would have been turned over in Elijah Muhammad's day. If God was connected to it, he said, I'm the same. I'm the same yesterday, today, and forever. I can count. Elijah Muhammad was 50s. It's 2020. After the day of Pentecost, it didn't take 60 years for God to transform the people financially. It didn't take 60 years. It said they added daily. The people were transformed daily. How did we get a different standard? Started following Rome. Started following blacks that gave their allegiance to Rome. Blacks who've always given their allegiance. Who are the Canaanites? Who are the Philistines? The same black people you following right now. The same thing. Ain't nothing changed. I know Europe told you everybody who has ever lived was a European. They told you that so you would trust the black Philistines, the black Egyptians. I know they told you Cleopatra was a European. Moses was a European. Abraham was a European. I know. He told you be not deceived. So you trusted the same exact individuals that he's telling you in the word don't have nothing to do with these clowns. Because the same Europeans that stole your identity gave you a label with the same people who pledged allegiance to them. Nigger. Colored. Well, heck, the Philistines, the Babylonians, the Egyptians, they all fall under colored. This is what happens when you don't maintain full control, the lead over your identity and your covenant. When you ain't building. He said, you will rebuild the old ways places. But when you associate to a group and you willing to let others build for the group, for real, you going to let the Philistines build for a group and you checking the box in that group? The Philistines worship a god named Dagon. And the Most High God, listen, man. He said, I don't even hear your prayers. I don't even receive your offerings. He said, I'm so sick and tired of you coming and bringing your worship to me. Stop. Stop. You think I'm lying? The Most High God told them people, you wasting your time. This is who he talking to.
The prostitute, someone else is the pimp.
That's who he talking to.
Generation 1 looks at our history.
I think if you went back and looked at the history, you would look at examples that would make you sick, that would literally sizzle with the level of injustice that happened with African American people.
Generation 1 provides a blueprint for building a legacy of wealth.
You have to almost do the opposite of what all your peers are doing.
You have to almost do the opposite? You have to almost do the opposite. Abraham was in Babylon. He had to almost do the opposite. God said, go to a land that I will show you. Get out of there. Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sin. You got to almost do the opposite. Yo, untouchable, flowing, generational wealth is the identifying mark of God's children. And I have declared, as for me and my house, we ain't running around here talking about I'm the first in my family to get a PhD. That's whack. I'm the first in my family. I'm the first in my family to go to college. Yeah, it's still people. Do you know it's still people in our community who celebrate the fact in 2020 that they the first people in their family to ever go to college? What? How low is the bar? How low have they lowered the bar on our people? How ignorant have they made us? When the Most High God said, during a time of ignorance, I winked on ignorance. I winked when y'all was following like stupid, crazy, ignorant people, like blind, dumb people who don't have a covenant, who aren't royal. During the time of that ignorance, I winked on that. Do you know he was talking about Israel when they was in idolatrous bondage in Babylon 500 years before he came? Paul was talking about the time of ignorance when they was in Egyptian bondage. And worshiping the Egyptian idols, which led them into bondage. He said, during the time of that ignorance and the idolatry that you were in, I winked on that ignorance. That's why I sent you Moses. That's why I sent you Daniel. I winked on your ignorance. But now, this is in Paul's day, 2,000 years ago. Now, I'm not accepting ignorance. I call all men to repentance. Now, 2,000 years ago, all men, nobody ever should be deceived with idolatry ever. That's why the Messiah said it is finished. It is done. Because I have left the blueprint. You won't get a better example. You won't get a better bar set. And because Mary Magdalene and them met the bar, which proved to you that you could go from the lowest prostitute, whatever. And when I say go and sin no more, it is finished. Idolatry, immorality, sexual immorality, it's no confusion. It is not a question about anything. I have not left any doubt about any sliver of how to be righteous. It is finished. And I call all men to the standard. All men and women to meet the bar. This is the blueprint for the kingdom, but it's the blueprint for prosperity. You shouldn't want to be the first person in your family to get an education. Be the first person in your family to leave generational wealth. Be the first person in your family to fulfill the word that says a good man leaveth wealth to his children's children. Be your first person in your family that can say, I am the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31. This is a chapter in the Word of God, Proverbs 31:10 through the bottom of the chapter, that list. This woman, because of this wife. The land flows with milk and honey because of the righteousness, because of the character, because of the faithfulness, because of the business moves, because of the raw talents that God has deposited in her, and she took it and flipped it, and everything she puts her hand to. Her servants are blessed. Her servants. She buys a field and plants a vineyard. She brings her goods from afar. Yachts? Y'all impressed with yachts? He has said every home that has a wife that is in his covenant. Notice he revealed it to Solomon, David's son, who was ignorant from idolatry too, who wasted his raw talent of wisdom. This is the last chapter of the Song of Solomon. Last chapter of Proverbs 31, last chapter. And in his search for self-indulgence, self-pleasure, he corrupted his wisdom and turned it into ignorance. And he had 1,000 women in his life, and none of them was the virtuous woman. So he had to write, who can find a virtuous woman? I can't, because I'm ignorant. But Deuteronomy 28 spells out what Noah was. Noah, you are good and perfect in your generation. Noah can find the virtuous woman. Job was a righteous and upright man who eschewed evil. Job could find a virtuous woman. That is the recipe. Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 12 spells out the man's first fruit blessing. And Proverbs 31:10 through the bottom spells out the woman's birthright blessing of faithfulness. And if y'all return back to that prescription, everything described in Deuteronomy 28, 1 through 12, your finances will reflect those verses to the T. Women, your finances have to reflect Proverbs 31:10 to the bottom. And it was describing the Queen of Sheba, who came to the temple, and Solomon didn't marry her because he was so ignorant in idolatry. Who can find a virtuous woman? I didn't find her. She came. She was available. God sent her to me because I was so ignorant, because I was outside of his covenant. Because I wasn't like my daddy, a man after God's own heart. I had to write this verse to let you know I'm ignorant. The one that they tell you is the wisest man that ever lived. Solomon is declaring, I am an ignoramus and I wasted it. I squandered it. And my people devolved into poverty under my reign. My father ended idolatry of Saul. He ended oppression from the Philistines. He ended poverty, destitution. He restored the covenant. We had abundance, prosperity, wealth. No one dared to come upon us. And the moment I take the throne, I lead the people back into Saul's idolatry. The very next generation, I lead the people back into Saul's idolatry, like Saul was my daddy and David wasn't. Like Satan is my daddy and God isn't. But in the occult world that these blacks live in, Solomon is the king. Solomon is that dude. In Freemasonry, in the secret society, Solomon is that dude. He's that dude. Why? Because of the idolatry. He got the right pedigree, the form of godliness. They love him in the occult. Solomon is the guy. They could claim David, lion from the tribe of Judah, but God, that's why God came and rebuked Solomon himself, because he knew they was going to try and play y'all with that. And when you send y'all babies to them campuses, they recruit y'all babies. They recruit y'all babies to join they thing. Yo, we got the Bible in the lodge. We're talking about Solomon. This is God. Ignorance. Children of Israel was on a downward spiral as soon as Solomon took the throne. Downward spiral. It was a wrap. As soon as Solomon took the throne. Ignorance. Solomon wasn't no European. Solomon is a descendant of Cush. And you got all of these Solomons in D.C. All of these Solomons. All throughout the nation. All of these Solomons in your church. All of these Solomons preaching the word. Ignorant. Idol worshipers. And that's why our people is broke, destitute. And the Europeans, they try to take your head off. The Europeans is all on one accord, all over the world, trying to make sure that you never, ever, ever get back to your covenant. They are a complete symphony of income inequality. They are a complete symphony. They are raising rents all over the world, astronomically, putting people on the street, working people, families, all over the world. San Francisco, Oakland, Miami, Orlando, New York, every major city. Gentrification, slums. Every major city. Chinese coming in, buying up U.S. debt, buying up U.S. land. And the British went to China and took the wealth of the 90s. Outsourced it, called it globalization, and took a backwater, communist, broken, and in 30 years, running around here talking about, oh, China's the best. Da, 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 da. Yo, if they got out of the way of God's children, they don't even got to get out of the way. They don't even have to get out of the way. They can try and stand in their way if they want. If you just do what we about to do in the next 14 years, what we about to do every day for the next 14 years, if you just do, it don't matter what they do. It doesn't matter. But if you mess around and don't wake up, if you mess around and don't wake up, the rain's going to start coming down and the door of the ark is going to close. I promise you. And when it happens, when it happened in 70 AD in Jerusalem, these same Romans, these same black Babylonians, understand, the Babylonians had got kicked out of Babylon. Those same black Babylonians, the idolatrous Babylonians, had got kicked out of their capital city when God allowed Darius, the king of the Medes and the Persians, to come and chastise Babylon. Because they had got access to the gospel with Daniel and they did not respond. Who do you think threw their might behind the Romans and helped the Romans enslave the Hebrews? Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. These same people of color, the Babylonians, that have been worshiping Satan in idolatry throughout all of world's history, when Greece and Rome came to chastise Hebrews, whose God had ousted the Babylonians, who else would want to see that happen but the Babylonians? Who else would want to see the Hebrews back enslaved than the Egyptians and the Babylonians? When Greece and Rome come with the same idolatry that they've been worshiping. Man, it ain't no racism out here. It ain't no racism. When it comes to idolatry, the people of color and the Germans who are idol worshipers, they are so unified. They have never been separate. They got you thinking that all people of color are together under the same banner of oppression. Man, get out of here. The Babylonians and the Egyptians been trying to pay back God's children for what God did to their nations when they dethroned. They have been relishing. And as long as you let their wicked priests, who know they are no match for God, that they can only punish his children through deception. So their priests, who continue to worship every deity that they have always worshiped, they then come and masquerade as your preachers and pastors, your spiritual leaders, knowing that there is a whole chapter in Joshua, knowing that that is the recipe when the children of Israel were so covered by God coming into the promised land that the kings of Canaan, who knew that they were going to be cast out like the Babylonians, they went and got a priest who also was in a covenant with God, Balaam, and they said, please come curse them. And Balaam wanted to get the money so much, but they were so covered by God that even when he took the money and even when he tried to pronounce a curse, that blessings flowed from his mouth. That's what happens when you give the first fruits. When you enter back into your covenant. When you get clean. Even when they want to curse you. Even when they want to destroy you. They have no control over nothing. They don't even have control over their own tongues. They don't have control over nothing. They don't have control over their weapons. They don't have control over missiles. They don't have control over bullets, guns. They don't have control over nothing. They don't have control over the sun. God made the sun stand still. They don't have control over nothing except what you give them control over. The sanctuary. Sanctuary of the Most High God. Your body. They know what the goal is. They want you to think that some outside building is the wealth of the kingdom. They want you to think that some building or some denomination is the symbol of the covenant with God. They happily, as your fake phony high priest, want you to contribute tithes and offerings in a way that they know is outside of your covenant. So they will always remain your high priest. Occult hidden high priest. They don't ever want to be back in a position where no matter what they do, they can't do nothing. They out of control. And they only get control when you give it to them by following. Balaam tried and tried. It says 7 times he tried to curse him. He went to a higher mountain. A higher place. You know what the high place is. It's the shrine where they go. The high place is the shrines where they go. So they're conducting satanic rituals. Trying to tap into power with Satan. To get a curse through. Every time he opened his mouth 7 times. That's how powerful your financial covenant is. Then the other dude was like, yo, son, you worthless, yo. Give me my bread back. You worthless. I was going to give you the wealth of my kingdom. Because I was going to take their wealth. The wealth of this kingdom ain't nothing compared to the wealth that they got. But if you can't help me touch their wealth, get out of here. And on his way back home, he was like, you know what? I remember the story where God opened up the earth and swallowed them. When they was blessed, when he came and brought him to himself to bless them like they blessed right now, but they got him in his face and they worshiped the old golden calf in sexual idolatrous rituals. He said, I'm going to get that money. And he turned back around and he went and got the king and he said, send the prostitutes down in there. Where the whores at? We're going to get this money. Where the whores at? Justify their temple. Send in the whores. Wine, women, men, whores, and song. Sure enough, them children of Israel ain't hesitate. The minute them behinds started shaking, the minute them glasses started filling up, the minute Jay-Z and these niggas got to performing, they were sleeping with everything moving. Men, women, animals. From 1 minute, you can't even curse us. You can't, nothing. Joshua had just took them through the Jordan River, baptized them, cleansed them, took them through a process. He had just taken them through a systematic. We've been trying to take the people through the same exact systematic step by step. You do it when you go into the covenant to get married. You don't just arbitrarily just wake up and be like, all right, yo, God, we good. Nah. You don't do that with your bride. You get down on one knee. You propose. Then you put a date on the calendar. You put a date on the calendar and you prepare. And in the preparation, you get ITB fit. You put on. You get dressed for the occasion. You don't come common. You take a bath. You wash. You get clean. You put on your best smells. Your best clothes. You break the bank. You invite everybody you can. Then you get down there and you take the ultimate vow. Till death, I'll be faithful. Till death, I'm all in. Ain't looking at nothing else. Ain't considering nothing else. Ain't blinking at nothing else. Don't nothing else matter. I am all in. I'm locked in. That's faithfulness. That's what faithfulness is. I know you, you know me. Intimately, exclusively, wholly, totally. It ain't no confusion about who my spouse is. Ain't no confusion about how to make you happy. It's no confusion. And not only am I all in, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. I'm laying my life down, presenting myself as a living sacrifice. I am going to serve faithfully. Man, you show me where that is the gospel that they putting out, and I'm going to show you individuals who leave in generational wealth. And if you smart, you're going to take that as a call to join this team. Because that's exactly what this is. It's called to get to unify collectively by the thousands, by the millions, by the billions. To all form like Voltron and walk down the aisle and do that with the Creator right now in the presence of everybody, in the presence of all these fake, phony spiritual systems, and get this money and prove in the face of everybody that can't nobody lead but us. Can't nobody prosper but us. If the world want to prosper, they better get in. If the world want to go home, they better get in this ark. If the world want to stand on the sea of glass, they better get grafted in. And in my circle, where I come from, these Seventh-day Adventist Christians, in that circle, they are the listen, the corporate head in 2020, this full court press that we putting on the enemy, we're going to prove that the leading counterfeiters in this corporate masquerade of spirituality can be found in that camp. The leading. We're going to show you in 2020 that what God did in a period of time between 1798 and 1844, 1865, in that period, let's say between 1798 and 1885, where they went back down into Africa, talk about the U.S. and the Germans and all of them ain't carved up Africa. After declaring in the U.S. that these evangelical Christians has set the slaves free, we're going to show you in 2020 that period, 1798 to 1885, is the specific period in Earth's history, in Bible history, in Revelation chapter 3, where God shows you who Philadelphia is and his people who represent Philadelphia, the only movement on Earth's history since he died that he gave nothing but the same blessings that the children had when they was going into the promised land. The only movement on earth and you know what happened in 1739 up to 1865? The predictions that God said that his children would know, that symbolized that you in the last days, that I'm coming back again, and that you my people. He specifically made them happen in North America only. In North America only. In that window, period, where it wasn't no Roman Catholic Church opposition. It received a deadly wound in 1798, so they can't take credit. They wasn't even on this. They didn't even exist. He poured out his. He said he would make the stars fall from heaven. He rained down the stars from heaven. Remember, he said every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights. So in a period of time where he had his children looking, you got some people looking for Philadelphia, but he had people who were Philadelphia. And to show to the world, this is Philadelphia, he said the moon would turn to blood. It'd be a dark day. The stars would fall from heaven. Ain't no Seventh-day Adventist corporate body at the time. The Western world wants you to believe in a systematic church system. The Western, they want you to believe that to get to the kingdom, you got to be a part of a church. And come on, man. If that's the case, Noah and all of them, they not going to the kingdom. They would not get to the kingdom. God ain't had no church. And to prove he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And to prove that the people of Philadelphia had it right. They just returned to his word without every other one of them periods before Philadelphia is all periods where people have been led by the Roman Catholic version of Western Protestant Christianity. All 5 of the other times, except Sardis, where they got persecuted and fed to the lions in Roman time, pagan Roman times. Then they switched to papal Rome, and in every other church he rebukes under Roman Catholicism, Christianity. Gets to Philadelphia. Rome is hit with a deadly wound. Moved out of the way, just like he said, I'm going to have my bride go into a place prepared for her by God, out of the reach of the dragon for 1,260 years, from 538 to 1798. And just like clockwork, 1798, Napoleon crushes the Roman Catholic Church, takes the Pope into captivity. No Roman Catholic Church, no Rome. Gone. What happened in the United States of America? Yo, the gospel went to all of the globe. All of the globe. They had a Millerite movement. A Millerite movement turned into a Seventh-day Adventist movement. But listen, that's just the Holy Ghost moving, pouring out. Like, listen, man, what Rome had y'all doing, what them Lutherans and what all of them, yo, I just gave them some light to get them away from Rome. They ain't, listen, the Puritans ain't got it. Just like the disciples ain't have it for 3 years when they was with me. Them churches ain't got it. They ain't leading you spiritually. I'm calling them out of darkness spiritually. They can't tell you how to get to me. They don't know how to get to me. They've been in darkness the whole time. Then they gonna set up corporate bodies and corporate denominations and they gonna try and they simply ran slavery, Roman Catholic slavery, here in the New World under Protestant Christianity. Same Jim Crowism, same segregation, same bigotry, same slave trade. They ain't changed nothing. And then the one time when God moved it all out the way, he like, all right, I'm going to have the heavens testify. Y'all on it right now. Y'all on it right now. 1865. They incorporate the Seventh-day Adventist Church. In 1902, this is after 1865. It's supposed to be free. They got human zoos. Because the U.S. went and sat at the table in Belgium, Germany, and carved up Africa. And they went. So they put on paper. They put lip service. Declaration of Independence. Whatever. How you at the table, U.S.? How you at the table in Berlin, Germany? How you a part of calling it Africa? And to show you that them same Christians ain't had no problem with shedding the blood. Chicago State Fair, human zoo, slave trade from Africa. All around the country, they took these human zoos, and these Christians ain't had no problem that we got on the books, we got laws on the books saying we ain't in slavery no more. But we got a human zoo. And you know what the problem with the human zoo was? We should keep the Sabbath. Close it on Sunday. So there you go. That's Roman Catholic influence back again. They declared Sunday was the Sabbath and they closed it on Sunday. And the only problem that the Seventh-day Adventists now who are on the scene had with the human zoos was, oh, Sunday's not the Sabbath. Saturday's the Sabbath. We protest that you would close it down on Sunday and not Sabbath. Not we protest the enterprise itself. We protest the treatment of God's children. And then Revelation 3 moves from Philadelphia to Laodicea. I will spew you out of my mouth. All of y'all movements. Then when Rome comes back on the scene, gets right back down to the business. Y'all cool with following. Laodicea, I will spew you out of my mouth. All of y'all. Just like I spewed the Hebrews out of my mouth. Just like I spewed Solomon out of my mouth. Just like I spewed the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Just like I spewed the children of Israel worshiping the golden calf out of my mouth. Just like I spewed Cain out of my mouth. Just like I spewed Sodom and Gomorrah out of my mouth. Just like I spewed Babylon. What don't we understand, y'all? What don't we understand? We got these babies to adults who all ready to bring their raw talents. And they ready to compete. And they ready to learn how to be paid what they worth. And then they ready to learn how to take the God-given 1 talent, 2 talent, 4 talent from whatever raw skills that they have, and then be taught how to set the proper portions aside. The portion for the first fruits, the portion that God says lead the 4 corners, the portion that God says every 7 years lead a harvest, the portion that God told Joseph, take a fifth during a time of plenty, take a fifth put it up. Because when everybody else sees a famine, I'm going to allow you to feast. And we taking our people simultaneously while the NFL and the NBA and college keeps exploiting. We're going to take a 14-year period and we're going to take people from the same neighborhoods, from the same cities, from the same towns, from the same schools, the same neighborhoods and same blocks. So they can't say it's no different. The only thing different is we're going to give them their covenant. The only thing different is we're going to give them back their heritage and their customs. We're going to give them back their crowns. And we're going to reinvest in the system that he gave us. While they keep exploiting. And we're going to give y'all the chance to choose which side y'all want to be down with. Which side y'all want y'all children to align themselves with. Which side you want your grandchildren's future to be attached to. We're going to let you choose in real time. We ain't following nothing. We're leading. So, 2020 gonna be exciting. And the remaining days of January, you got the opportunity to cash out. You got the opportunity to cash out. I'm gonna come back tomorrow and I'm gonna show y'all the artificial manufactured poverty that we're supposed to be recycling and an artificial manufactured inequality wealth that they've created. And it doesn't matter where we go. We can go to China, we can go to Nigeria. It doesn't matter where we go, and especially in the US. We go to city after city after city. You're going to see the same thing. We can go to London, we can go to Paris, we can go to Australia. We can go to Africa. They're doing the same thing to our peoples. They're doing the exact same thing to our people that the Chinese are doing to their people. It's the same thing everywhere. They got an inequality gap. They got a small minority of rich people exploiting everybody. They make life so hard out in the suburbs that everybody runs to the city because the minority is so small. They can't control the sheer numbers. So in order to control the population, they force everybody to come into the cities where they're stacked on top of each other and they can control the cities and the crush of the masses. Everybody like, oh, we got to run here to try and get work. Then they're enslaving everybody in the city. And they're extracting insane amounts of wealth artificially in every last country in the world. India, China, Germany, Spain, France, Britain. Their economies outside of those super rich at the top, this economic sham is about to come down. And the last place that they need to get full control of, unless all bets is off, if they can't get the U.S. under the control of an insane leader like Donald Trump, with haves and have-nots, like China and the rest of the people, all bets is off. But because we know the word of God, we know that it'll never happen. But for those who don't get inside the ark of safety, in their attempt to make it happen, oh, it's going to be a lot of people who get scarred. It's going to be a lot of people because they allow themselves to be deceived who going to feel that pinch of the starvation, of the destitution that all of Egypt felt when the time of want came. But everybody who did exactly what was revealed to Joseph and they followed the blueprint to the T, not only did they have, but it was an abundance for everybody else who didn't have. That's how God operates, yo. But what happens when you don't put up? What happens when you don't return to the financial blueprint? What happens during the time of plenty? You're following the deception and not leading and executing. What happens? I ain't taking that chance on my family. No matter who see what, don't see what. I'm not, listen, we know how it's going to go down. But above and beyond my immediate family, we declaring for all of the people of God. We done seen the vision like Joseph. So it's time to execute. Peace.